Aloha, and welcome to Trust and Verify. I'm Trust, and Verify's not here. Why? Because he's sick. And here's another secret. I'm not here. This is a recording. We are bringing you a best of version because between him and I, he's too sick, and I have work that has screwed me to where I have to basically work to where I won't be able to make the show live. So we decided to put together a nice clip show for you, bring some of our best rants, bring some of our funniest stuff, and bring you the best hammering in the history of TAVshow.com. Aloha. We love you. Thanks for being here. Enjoy the show.
Stop the hammering.
One of our old favorites this week, ladies and gentlemen. Morning bro. Yeah, well, he is my morning bro. Let's be honest. He's my morning bro, Joe Scarborough. Joe Scarborough, concern trolling the GOP, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's roll with Morning Joe and quote, GOP blindly following President Trump will pay the price. Let's hear from Joe.
Oh, Mika, there's just so much here that's
look at the concern.
It's just astounding. Again, we've talked about the Republican Party and where the Republican Party's gone.
Where have they gone? They seem to be winning primaries all over the country. I don't know. What do you think?
With the defeat of Mark Sanford, a man who was actually endorsed by the Freedom Caucus, who was endorsed by Jim Jordan, who was endorsed by Mark Meadows, who was endorsed by anybody. Paul Ryan, endorsed by...
Oh, he was endorsed by Paul Ryan. I can't believe he didn't get in.
Anyone who believes like Mark Sanford has believed for a quarter of a century in smaller government, in less regulations,
yes, he has.
In entitlement reform, in saving future generations from massive, overwhelming debt. For anybody who believes in that, Mark Sanford was their candidate.
Yes, but there's a difference, Joe and James and audience. There's a difference between believing something and actually bloody doing something about it. You see? So there's two news flashes here for Joe Scarborough. One, people don't care about endorsements anymore. We figured that out with LeBron James and Hillary Clinton. He may be God's gift to basketball, but nobody gives a shit about who he votes for. Done. One. Number two is, if you've been a conservative and you've been advocating, if you've been believing, he's believed in small government, he's believed in tax cuts, he's believed in all of the things conservatives are supposed to believe in for 25 years and done sweet FA about it. Guess what? Your time is up. That's the message here. The Morning Joes of the world would love for these conservatives who are ineffectual to just continue on going through the malaise of not actually doing anything that they quote unquote believe in. That's why people are turning away from them. It's not going to be because of a Trump cult, which is what Joe's argument here is. But let's keep going.
But for those who didn't vote for Mark Sanford,
yes,
it is an example of where the Republican Party's gone, and that it is a personality cult.
It's a personality cult. Yeah. You know, all those Hollywood celebrities coming out and endorsing Hillary Clinton, James, that's not a personality cult. That's just concerned progressives wanting the best for their country. Now, when you're
civic
faced
duty
with establishment Republicans not doing anything for a quarter of a century, now getting turfed out, no, that's a personality cult. It's all Donald Trump's fault. Donald Trump and the personality cult.
And, you know, Eddie, that may feel good in the moment for Republicans in South Carolina one that says the hell with conservative principles.
Oh, to hell with conservative
the hell with
principles.
Our lifelong belief in small government.
See, I don't see why this is so hard to understand. He's saying, oh, people are now saying to hell with conservative principles. They're saying, no, to hell with people who say they have conservative principles but actually don't do anything about it. To hell with those people. That's the message.
The hell with everything that we and our party have held dear.
Did he say we?
For decades.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
We're now going to completely put.
Oh, yeah, I know. He was a Republican, right?
Yeah, no, he's trying to fill in for John McCain now and Meghan McCain, how they always think that they're conservative. See, these are the we conservatives people that are actually a bunch of we idiots.
Yes, yeah, cuckservatives, as was explained by Jake Tapper the other night on the Daily Boogie live stream. If you want, if you wanted a full in-depth description of what a cuckservative is, please go back and check out my replay on tavshow.com. Did you see how I did that? Work that plug-in, baby.
Work it. It's in your contract.
An ideology and a blind trust for Donald Trump. That may feel good today for him, I guess. But boy, a hard rain's going to fall come November in places like Virginia and across the country where they're electing these extremists.
Extremists. They're electing extremists. Like, think about it. You have to be pretty dense to sit there and say, well, the person that's been in power for 25 years saying all the right things is now getting outvoted by an extremist. That proves that the person in power for 25 years who is losing to an extremist is obviously the best guy. You know what I mean? Like, the voters are so stupid, right?
I love how he gets on his preaching. Like, it's almost like I feel like he's at the pulpit. Like, he suddenly changed tone. Yeah. Did you notice his tone change where suddenly now he's telling you, I'm the expert, preaching directly to you that I'm right. Listen to me. You know what I mean? It's tone change. It's like he's literally trying to use persuasion skills here, not realizing that he has about the persuasion of a gnat.
Yep. Oh, and look at the words he's choosing as well. Cult, extremism, right?
Yep.
Like, this is not by accident, ladies and gentlemen. Let's carry on.
That pledge allegiance to Donald Trump, but know nothing about being conservative.
Oh, they don't know anything.
I pledge allegiance to Donald Trump of the United States
really
of America.
North Korean dictator. Dear leader, Heil Trumper.
Oh my God, these people have lost their mind.
The personality cult. We're going to rename Washington Pyongyang. Did you know that? I want people to stand up to attention.
No, we're going to call it Trump Tower, the city.
Trump Tower City.
PhD hat on now, and you know, we got to be careful with our use of the word cult, right? Because it doesn't really have.
Just as a short note, this is why you don't invite people whose first words out of their mouth is, I'm going to put my PhD hat on. This is why you don't invite them onto television anymore.
Kind of the analytical clarity for us that we might want it to, but I understand what we're registering. I just wanted to say that for my scholars out there.
There you go.
Amen.
But I want to ask you this question, though, Joe. It's common political sense that when Republicans run in their primary.
Yeah, Joe said amen. And this guy also referred to common sense. He's referencing common sense on MSNBC on Morning Joe. You know, put that into a basket.
Is that they have to run right. They have to play to their base. Mm-hmm. And in playing to their base, they knew that they could not, when it came to the general election, make the same claims, that they would have to run back in some ways to the center. What is happening to that logic? Is it the case that the base that they had to appeal to in the primary has now metastasized and become the party itself? What? So what I'm trying to say is that, are we thinking about Trumpism as something distinct and unique from what was happening among Republicans?
Yes, because Trumpism is about getting shit done. What was happening among Republicans before that was not getting shit done. You don't have to be a PhD to figure it out. You really don't. I've been a good Republican for 25 years. I advocate tax cuts. I advocate smaller government, and all of those things have gone in reverse while I've been elected. Oh, well, we should vote you in again. You say all the right thing, you know. Oh, no. Let's put our PhD hat on. No, this is the base metastasizing, and this is the influence of Trumpism in North Korea or something.
Throughout their primaries, or is it some relation, or is there some relationship between the two? Because I'm trying to think about Trumpism as being a part of the Republican Party, that it reflects Buchananism. It reflects what Republicans had to do in terms of appealing to their base in their primaries.
Just a side note, there is no Obama-ism. That's just called progress.
So I'm trying to understand how we describe Trumpism in this moment. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. No, I think he just described how his PhD is worth about $3 because he can't even figure out how to describe what's going on in the country that we have easily all put a single word to, which we call #winning.
Hashtag winning. Here's a little fun little side note for you, ladies and gentlemen, because of course the extremists are now taking over the Republican Party. Trumpism is a brand new thing. It's never been seen before. I just wanted to throw you back into the Wayback Machine here. A quote from JFK, James, because this is a whole new extremist breeding ground for the Conservative Party. We've never seen this kind of stuff before. Listen to this quote from John F. Kennedy, and the good chaps on MSNBC should understand this. A tax cut means higher, I can't do it, Kennedy. A tax cut means higher family income and higher business profits and a balanced federal budget. As the national income grows, the federal government will ultimately end up with more revenues. Prosperity is the real way to balance our budget. By lowering tax cuts, by increasing jobs and income, we can expand tax revenues and finally bring our budget into balance. John F. Kennedy, ladies and gentlemen. Where have you heard that before? It must be that new dream kind of Trumpism that you've heard about.
That's the Nazi talking points right there. He's a member of the Nazi Party.
Oh, of course he is. That's why they had to kill him, for progress.
It does, and there are two ways to look at it. You could, first of all, look at it just in terms of what's going on today. And you could look at the changes in the Republican Party, that there has been a dark underside to the Republican
personality cult, extremism, dark underside. I hope at home you're playing ridiculous rhetoric bingo, because you should have half a line by now.
Party and conservatism, which has usually been backed by whether it's John McCain or Mitt Romney or George W. Bush or George H.W. Reagan. Yep.
A conservative, I'm going to do Jake Tapper now. A conservative is a combination of the word cuckold and conservative. That's what it means.
That dark underbelly it has been usually been checked by the leader of the party.
I'll raise you and overturn a Nazism.
W. Bush.
So, see Joe Scarborough rattling off all the Republicans that you should love. What was it? John McCain, Jeb Bush, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush. I mean, keep it going. Keep the conga line of winning going for me, Joe.
Please.
Look at all these people who uphold small government values, like George W. Bush, for example. Like, didn't he uphold small government values when he brought in the Patriot Act? You know, all of that overt surveillance. I mean, that just screams libertarianism to me.
Oh, yeah. The creation of the Department of I can't even talk now. The creation of the Department of Homeland Security was done under who?
Yes.
Bush, not Obama. Yes. Bush.
Increasing Islamic immigration into the United States tenfold, James, happened under who? George W. Bush, you know, those guys who uphold conservative values.
George H.W. Bush would always talk about, would always push back and let Republicans know that actually reaching out to voters in groups that they weren't comfortable with, like Hispanic voters, was extraordinarily important.
Did you pick up that little one? George W. Bush reminded Republicans to reach out to people that they aren't comfortable with. See, this is the subliminal programming that goes on for viewers of MSNBC, because they don't realize it, but they come away from that with an inference that Republicans used to reach out to people that they hate because they're racist, and now they don't because they're racist still, right? And George W. Bush was a great guy. Like, all of the progressive have forgotten about how much they hate George W. Bush. Now he's put up on a pedestal. Because he hates Trump. That's why. He's not an extremist.
George W. Bush wasn't calling Hispanics breeders. He was going there campaigning hard. He got 44% of the vote of Hispanic voters in 2004. Donald Trump is playing to the lowest common denominator. And I think that's one part of the story. And so, yes, we have seen.
That's racist, Joe. You're white, and you just called me a lowest common denominator. That's racist.
Yes, you're an extremist. You're a cult member. You're a dark underbelly.
Of Republicanism that metastasize. And it now has become
like cancer,
all about Donald Trump.
Because cancers metastasize, don't they? Tumors metastasize. That's why that keeps getting used.
And his collection of prejudices and resentments. There's another part of it, though. And sadly, I don't think that this is just in the Republican Party. I think it's in the Democratic.
To be fair to people like me, you could sum up all of my collection of prejudices in just one. I just don't like progressives. You know? So whatever color they are, whatever sexual habits they may or may not have, I don't even care about that stuff. It's just the progressive part. Like, if you can ditch the progressive part, you're not born a progressive. So, you know, there's hope for you yet. You want to be my friend?
Democratic Party as well. Tribalism.
Tribalism.
Is pure, unadulterated tribalism,
Pure,
where people in a party line up
tribalism.
before their leader no matter what. I could get you quotes from top Democratic leaders when the Monica Lewinsky scandal broke out.
Oh, you want a quote from a top Democratic leader? I just had one up. John F. Kennedy. A tax cut means higher family income and higher business profits and a balanced federal budget. As the national income grows, the federal government will ultimately end up with more revenues. Prosperity is the real way to balance our budget. By lowering tax rates, by increasing jobs and income, we can expand tax revenues and finally bring our budget into balance. You want quotes from Democrat leaders? There's number one, numero uno, right there. Haven't they come a long way, the Democrats? That's what progress does to you. It makes you forget how to be a sane, rational person.
Saying that if this is true, then Bill Clinton needs to resign.
Bill Clinton.
Patrick Moynihan, I believe, said that. Well, it became
Who
true.
the hell is Patrick
And
Moynihan?
you had,
Who cares?
and Maureen Dowd has written about this often.
Maureen
You had a
Dowd
lot
has
of
written
women
See,
that knew
he's
better.
got the audacity.
Lied.
This is the other thing that I find incredibly amusing. Joe Scarborough starts off this little rant by saying, oh, Trumpism is a cult of personality. And then he goes through naming all of the personalities that he thinks you should be listening to. What about John McCain? What about George W. Bush? What about Patrick Moynihan? What about this author? What about that person and that thinker? Those other people. That's just a cult of personality. Over here, look at these personalities. Wouldn't you like to be in their cult instead?
Teaming up to attack Monica Lewinsky and defend Bill Clinton because power was preeminent. They had a seat at the table. They had a president who supported the things that they supported. He even supported partial birth abortion.
This is actually the pinned video on MSNBC's YouTube channel, believe it or not. Like, this is the best they've got.
Okay, so
He was their man.
I've been
He
in
was
this business. I've been in this business for a little bit, and I just want to point out, look at the doctor. The guy hasn't moved in like 40 seconds. That tells you that he's like inside going, what the hell is this guy talking about? I can't figure out what this guy's talking about. I thought I had a PhD. Where the hell is this going? I don't know what the hell to answer when he calls on me. What am I going to say?
To be fair, he started it, though, with the hand movements like, is Trumpism a part of the Republicanism? And what about Buchananism and Bushism? I mean, we've got all of these isms. I'm just going to put my PhD hat on, but it's definitely not a cult. Back to you, Joe.
His personal life didn't really matter. We all know
The
that
guy
the
doesn't know
chickens
whether
came
to
home
jump
to
in or
roost,
not.
right? Read Maureen Dowd's column this past week. Read Maureen Dowd's column during the campaign. And we saw there was a payment that became due ultimately for not only the Clintons, but the Democrats and the women who blindly followed Bill Clinton when they should have spoken out.
Well, he did win two terms, so I guess if the due is to be paid, well, we've got 6 more years of it being paid. Hurrah! You'll be happy about that, Joe.
Certain, Mika, that the same thing
Sorry, Mika.
is going to happen to these Republicans who are blindly following Donald Trump.
To your
But
woman.
I guarantee you, it will not take 16 years for this bill to come due. This bill will come due much more quickly.
They gave up on the doctor.
And the price paid.
They gave up on the doctor.
Yeah.
Notice they said, oh my God, this guy's killing our ratings. He's not going to know what to say. Bring up Mika quick. Bring up Mika quick. Yes, Joe. Yes. Please talk to me some more.
Yeah.
Get dirty.
I need someone to agree with my ramblings, regardless of if it makes sense or not.
By these sycophants,
Sycophants.
would be much greater politically. They will be swept from power.
They will be
And it
swept
may be a
from
very
power.
long time.
So on the back of an actual election where the 25-year Republican who says all the right things but has done sweet FA about it gets swept out of power, Morning Joe Scarborough, everybody's favorite pretend conservative, who's not in a personality cult of John McCain by any stretch of the imagination, has the audacity to come on TV, talk to a putting my PhD hat on type of intellectual, and suggest to him and the audience that they're all going to get swept from power. Anybody who supports Donald Trump right now, anybody who's on board with this personality, dark underbelly, seedish, metastasized cult of Trumpism, they're all going to go by the wayside. They're going to flow down the river and down the drain like a San Francisco turd, James. Unless they embrace the values of the true conservative movement, which is what exactly? Being in power for 30 years, saying all the right things and doing fuck all about it. There you go. There's your hammering.
What a hammering that was. Oh, that's what it's about. It's about getting the narrative moving for the left. But there's nothing we're going to gain from it, really. We've already learned everything. We already know, like, all the disclosures have been made already. All the leaks have already got out there. We know what's coming. We know that there's secret investigations that are going on into the FBI. We know that there's investigations into the Clinton Email Foundation. These are things that were leaked by Rosenstein because he was under oath. He had to answer the question or risk going to prison. So because of the way he's a government employee and he's charged with answering honestly, so when he got cornered a couple times, which is why that got exposed. So Peter Strzok, on the other hand, see, this is what I tried to tell people before about firing these people. Firing these people was not always the answer. Keeping them employed meant they were under your thumb. Now that he's a free and he's acting as a civilian, he's no longer under the thumb. So now he's able to do things like avoid going to the Congress to testify. See, had he stayed employed, we could have forced him to go do this testimony. We said, no, you're going to testify. And so that, he might have pled the fifth the whole time. But so that's what tells you this game is all optics. That's it. It's just optics. They're totally playing the political game here. But from a realistic point of view, it's not going to help us further the case in any way.
Well, it'll be theatrical nonetheless, James. I've got another story here for you if I can just bring this up. Jim Jordan facing accusations of ignoring sexual abuse, faces political crisis. This is from Fox News. Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio faces 4 problems right now. Investigators are trying to determine who knew what about alleged sexual abuse around the Ohio State wrestling program when the congressman served as an assistant coach for the Buckeyes. Jordan's not accused of inappropriate conduct, but multiple former wrestlers assert that Jordan was aware of problems involving the late Dr. Richard Strauss. He just happens to be dead. Isn't that a happy coincidence? The wrestlers accused Jordan of turning a blind eye to potential abuse. Jordan contends he wasn't aware of the trouble. In your opinion, is this the media machine doing its best to would you say slander, put someone on the back foot before a potentially dangerous meeting between, say, one Peter Strzok and one Jim Jordan? Is this a way of already trying to nullify whatever kind of effect he might have in those hearings, in your opinion?
100,000%. This is political theater at its finest. Yep. Is that this is how you play the game. This is complete horse crap. This, in fact, the story you just read, the incomplete story tells you that every single sentence in that article, including the ones that say these guys allege and these guys think this, even their testimony would not be allowed in a court of law because it's third-party hearsay. How in the hell can wrestlers testify to what's inside Jim Jordan's head and inside his experience? It's That's impossible. Right. This would be third-party hearsay. Get the hell out of here. It's never going to see the light of day. Now, he's been in office for 11 years. So for 11 years, these guys that they weren't, come on, they're not claiming that they were like, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this in a way that could be seen as crass. They're not rape victims. These people weren't like, sheltered and scared of Jim Jordan, like, that kind of stuff, right? These are literally just wrestlers that are now, after 11 years, trying to say, well, yeah, he knew about that. How the hell do they know he knew about something else that's possible? They don't even have any crime here. None. This is all theater.
But you and I both know at this level, it's not about, because see,
reality doesn't matter. Absolutely.
Yep. Well, it gets the headline on the front page, James, and it gets pushed through all the relevant news agents. And by news agents, I'm talking about, your Fox, your CNN, your MSNBCs, and all the subsidiary papers. And that becomes the story, because then he has to defend himself against allegations, at which point, in the mind of the viewer, in the mind of the reader, they're already halfway to being true, because he's defending himself, right? Because you're getting told constantly, oh, these allegations, he did, he knew about this. Defend yourself, Jim Jordan. And he comes on and says, well, I didn't know anything. And they go, well, of course he'd say that. Of course he'd say that.
Absolutely.
Best you can do. I mean, we're all for the little people when we're at the Democrat Party, James. We're all for the little people. Now here are a bunch of multi-million-dollar celebrities telling you what to think. It's like, oh, okay, thanks for that. Let's move on to a little bit of leaking, James. I want to get your thoughts on a couple of things here. This was a tweet from Senator Rand Paul earlier today. Quote, time to investigate high-ranking Obama government officials who might have colluded to prevent the election of real Donald Trump. Everyone's using the collusion word. This could be worse than Watergate. Then we had this from The Hill. New leak indictment spells disaster for McCabe, which is, I believe we spoke about this last week, McCabe's role in all of this, because he's got done for leaking, and this chap Wolf has got done for leaking, and the possible sanctions for the press coming down the line. People in the press may find themselves under the spotlight. Quote, the indictment of James Wolf, 58, former security director of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, has sent shockwaves around Washington. Wolf faces 3 counts of violating 18 USC 1001 for making false statements to criminal investigators and could easily face serious jail time if convicted. After a year of leaks cascading down Capitol Hill, Wolf is a cautionary tale for many members, staffers, and journalists. Yet one person should be especially discomforted by the indictment, former FBI Director Andrew McCabe. Quote, the Wolf indictment shows the Justice Department has been actively pursuing leaks out of Congress. Given the lack of prior action, members and staffers may have become emboldened over time, but it now appears the Trump administration has been quietly tracking down the source of some news articles. Dun, 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 dun. Wolf was an obvious concern for any allegations of leaks, given his work at the SSCI for 3 decades, 1987 to 2017. James, is this an isolated incident? I've seen it being spread in the media that this is just an isolated case, nothing to see here. This guy, he just leaked a little bit of stuff to the press.
I don't know if he was done speaking.
James Tapper, after we get your thoughts, but what do you think?
There we go. So this was literally the shot heard around the world. Remember back to your old, elementary school days, and we had that, obviously you probably never even saw it, but it was called Schoolhouse Rock. And there was this little ditty song, well, the shot heard round the world was the start of the revolution. That is what that was that you just saw. That was the shot heard round the world, is that when you take out the top guy of the Senate Intel Security Division, you just sent the shockwaves to the politicians. The media is trying to sell us, everybody. Remember, I've said this 100 times, is that they tried to sell us Weinstein. We didn't stop at Weinstein. They're trying to sell us Comey. We're not stopping at Comey. This is the same thing. They're trying to sell us McCabe. They're trying to stem the bleeding when they don't realize that what Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions are doing is telling you, we got all of you. We have all the politicians. This is why you see record numbers of politicians resigning. And I want to point something out. This was kept hidden from everybody for over 6 months. Okay? There was I know we probably have the article in the stack from The Last Refuge Sundance, is that he's dead on in that article, is that they kept this for 6 months. That definitely tells you that these guys have been working together. They've got some big time players to start with, and look, Russia is our competition in every way on the planet. Anybody that doesn't understand that, you're living in fantasy world. I mean, they have the second largest, arsenal of dangerous nukes, right, on the planet, which makes them the second power on the planet. Now, you can argue China because of their economic might, but they're far behind Russia. I mean, Russia is not to be messed with, and the left is literally playing with World War III. That's what they're playing with. That's what they want. It's like they literally are trying to involve themselves in nuclear talks between North Korea, between Russia. Like, these guys would love nothing more than to mess this up. And then they don't even think about the logical consequence of their actions. They don't even think about, why would you want Trump to fail? Just think about that. Why do you want him to fail? It's your ass that's out there. So it must be that they don't care about ending the world. It must be that they don't care that they could make this happen. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because I didn't want Barack Obama to fail. I didn't like it. I hated his ass. I think he's an idiot and a moron, and couldn't do foreign policy to save his life. And he bowed to everybody's shoes. And I mean, this guy bowed to the guy that cleaned the bathrooms. I mean, this is the president that these guys admire. And yet I never wanted him to fail because it put my ass on the line. So I don't get it. I just don't get what they're doing.
Well, when you say they want him to fail, like they're playing with World War III, when you said that, it reminded me of that clip that came out, I think it was yesterday, James, of the ICE protesters blocking the vehicle at the front of the ICE facility. And, they're all linking arms, and within 30 seconds, they're getting taken down, right? And, they're getting crash tackled. There's, sandbag rounds are getting shot into their ribs. And all of a sudden there's wailing and crying and, oh my God, this is incredible. How can you do this? And I put out a little tweet, something along the lines of, this is that moment when, resistance goes off campus and steps into the real world. Like, all of a sudden, oh wait, there are consequences? Wait, you mean I can't just say and do whatever I like and, get pats on the back and standing ovations on the Jimmy Kimmel show for it? You mean I'm actually going to get shot in the face with something like tear gas? What the hell? This was a part of the deal. I think this is a bit where he's addressing the comments in the Sun newspaper, which we can touch on, James.
In Brussels expressed concern about a pipeline between Russia and Germany. Do you share those concerns? And to follow up on some of the questioning from my colleagues in the British press and on the American side, did you feel undermined by President Trump's comments in the Sun about your Brexit plan and about Boris Johnson?
No, look, I'm very clear that our Brexit plan will deliver on what the British people voted for. And we've had an excellent discussion here, as I've said, about, and as President Trump has said, about the possibility and the intent that we both have to have an ambitious trade deal going forward. And I think that's exactly where we'll be going. And that's very important for both of our countries. Actually, we have stood shoulder to shoulder with the United States in so many different ways over the years as a result of our special relationship. And we will show that even further through the trade arrangements that we will put in place in the future.
And I have to just to finish off, Jeff, I have to say, I said to that paper, The Sun,
this is great.
And they seem like two very nice people, but I said that Theresa May is one of them's nice, but I said, she said,
sitting here.
Oh, good. Where is that person? Where did I say nice things about Theresa May, please? Oh, good. Okay. If you reported them, that's good. Okay. Where? On the internet? Very good thing. Thank you very much for saying that. No, I said very good things about her. I didn't think they put it in, but that's all right.
That's the reporter right there. That's the reporter right there. I put out a tweet on the other night, James. This guy did an interview on CNN, and he was being asked, typical CNN level questions, right? It was like, has Donald Trump permanently poisoned the relationship between America and the UK and all this kind of garbage? And this guy very honestly came out and said, well, he's not a typical politician. And he said it's actually quite refreshing to have somebody just say it as it is. because we've been starved of that in politics for a long time. He said, obviously that plays well to his base, but obviously in foreign policy, when we analyze it, you know, there's some difficulty there. You know why? Because the straightforward, uncouth nature of Donald Trump is not something that they're used to. But what did you make of the meetings with Theresa May, James? I don't want to take over too much. I feel like I'm on a run here. Like,
oh, no. I wanted you to play that clip through because I actually would like to finish a little bit of the clip because I think, yeah, for me, this was very telling and very important. Theresa May not only stood up and stood next to President Trump the whole time, she stood by his comments. She told the British press that they were trying to stir up shit. Like, essentially in her, of course, understated British way, but you could hear right off the bat, her first answer was no. The word no came right out. She said, look, we have said this, we have stuck together. And then she took her own fake news jab at the fake news right there by saying, oh, well, one of them's nice. Like, literally is like, you know, playing right along. So I think it's important to listen to the rest of this right here because this is fantastic.
Beautiful.
The headline, I wish they put that in the headline. That's one of those things. And she's a total professional because when I saw her this morning, I said, I want to apologize because I said such good things about you. She said, don't worry, it's only the press. I thought that
there
was
it is.
There it is.
I might add, Joe,
Breaking, CNN breaking. Donald Trump simultaneously backflips on claims about Theresa May and attacks the press. You know?
Oh, dude, CNN is a freaking nightmare. They flipped this and said Donald Trump attacked the press right here when he's trying to call on John Roberts and Jim Acosta. I mean, you start trying to talk over him and and then Acosta throws in his little baby attitude with his well, we're a real network too. You know, it's like freaking okay, guys. If you were a real network, you wouldn't have to say you're a real network. That's for sure. You know, and then they flip it. And so, you know, they embarrassed the president in an overseas trip for the second time. So what did they do? They pulled all of their White House correspondents going to CNN. What did CNN do? Oh, it's a full out attack on the press. No, you dipshits acted like dipshits. So we took our people away, period.
Do you know, can I be serious with you for a second here?
Sure.
And you know my co-host on the Common Discourse, James, the voice of reason, Adam J, and he's from Poland. And you know, it's safe to say that when it comes to Russian politics, he has a healthy skepticism, in an understated colonial way, and which is fine. And we've had many arguments about how effective Russia is, but where we agree is the tragedy of the last 2 years with the Democrats' play in particular. Like, they could have been writing policy. They could have been deciding how to win back the voters that they lost at the previous election, but they didn't do that. They didn't decide to do that. Instead, they decided to create a boogeyman, and that boogeyman is Russia, right? But the real tragedy here is with the way that they have memed Russia. And they've turned it into a meme because now everybody just laughs when they say, oh, Russia, 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 Russia.
My Russia.
Exactly, right? But that downplays legitimate actions that may or may not be taken by Vladimir Putin and the Russian state. There's a thing called in active measures. Have you heard of active measures?
Yeah.
Now, active measures is a Russian political infiltration subversion strategy, which is well known, which is to create chaos in your opponent. And it's not necessarily for one side or the other side. You're not backing a particular candidate.
You don't care as long as chaos reigns. Yep.
Exactly. And with the memeing, like now when there is legitimate concerns, and there should be legitimate concerns about foreign infiltration, there should be legitimate concerns about, subversive activities from other governments. Like, let's not pretend like everybody gets along here. But the Democrats have now made it so impossible to prosecute legitimate concerns because they've been so ridiculous in going after this stuff which is clearly false. I think it's a terrible tragedy, if anything.
Yeah, here's the best part. Yeah, no, they are. They would. I would say this. They would be doing harm if we didn't have President Trump in there. And here, this is what I was going to say, is this is the beauty of President Trump is he doesn't give two shits what the left thinks. Doesn't care. He learned right away that it didn't matter. There's no appeasement he could do that would make them happy. So why appease them? They've literally written themselves out of the script, which means that Donald Trump gets to go and make all the plans that he wants without having to consider what they think. They get no input. Their input doesn't matter. And here's the best part. Because they've gone so insane, we on the right aren't holding him accountable like we used to hold previous presidents accountable. Why? Because we know that if we turn around and say one negative thing, the left is going to use that to wedge us apart. They're going to use that like a freaking, axe to try to just separate everybody in the base. And so we know that right now they're forcing us to actually stay 100% behind the president no matter what, because he's our only hope. They have made it so crystal clear that if he fails, we're gone. Like, we're going to have to start learning how to speak Aussie. Like, we're going to have to try to hide in the outback somewhere in order to get away from these crazy lefties. Okay. Like that's what they've made us realize that this is no longer, they're not playing with a full deck. Like, okay, they're just not. And so knowing that, we know we have to win. We want the good old days where we actually could have an honest debate with a lefty. We really want that, but we know we cannot get that anymore. We cannot get that until we have basically put them out of their misery and gotten them out of every place of power so that we can get and find honest Americans again. So we can find people that don't want to just line their pockets, that aren't willing to sell World War III to cover up the fact that they're a criminal organization. We realize it's that big a stakes. So we're literally, the president has a free hand, not only from his supporters, but from the left, because they've made themselves irrelevant.
Just, huge all-female brawl breaks out at San Francisco Pride Parade after one woman was asked if Kehlani was still singing and got a rude response, James. More than a dozen women were involved in a brutal brawl. There they go, the lovely ladies going at it, showing what tolerance is all about. More than a dozen women were involved in a brutal brawl at the San Francisco Pride Festival after an argument broke out over a singer's performance. The senseless violence was caught. I don't know if it's senseless. Who's to be the judge of that, really? You've got to defend the honor of these singers, James. It's important stuff. Which was caught on video by a horrified onlooker. Reportedly began when one woman asked another if singer Kehlani was still on stage. She replied very rudely, quote, and called her a bitch. Witness claimed, kicking off 7 minutes of savage fighting during the Sunday event. Now, I put it to you, if at a rainbow-laden pride parade, an argument over a singer's performance can result in this level of violence, James, wouldn't you say that with literally Donald Adolf Hitler in power, ripping children apart, destroying the Constitution, throwing the world into chaos and turmoil, I think they're really being quite reserved and polite. I think they are being very civil. If this is the benchmark, and I think you're incredibly, naive and rude and somewhat of a right-wing conspiracy theorist to suggest otherwise. Let's be honest. Good on the pride paraders. Well done. Well done. Setting the benchmark once again.
That is amazing right there, that they are literally fighting. And I love the terminology that the horrified onlooker filmed it. Yeah, how horrified did that filmmaker look? Like, they were pushing through to get front row seating. Like, I mean, come on.
Right in close.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If I was horrified, I wouldn't be filming it. I was more like laughing my ass off filming it. But yeah.
How about a little bit of fake news, James?
Absolutely. Always up for some fake news.
Okay, let's do this. I saw this one circulating a little bit. Let's let this clip run. It's only 90 seconds.
Intelligence insiders ringing alarm bells this weekend amid new concerns about North Korea, specifically Kim Jong-un's commitments to President Trump at their Singapore summit last month. Citing new evidence.
You knew this was only a matter of time. I suspect this will be the running theme. Every time, there's some kind of question mark or a bit of misinformation or somebody doesn't get their I's dotted and their T's crossed, they're all going to come out en masse and say, oh, he's backing out of the deal. We told you. He's backing out of the deal. Donald Trump's an idiot. He got played.
That the regime's been working to conceal key aspects of its nuclear program. Intel officials say this undermines their pledge to surrender their nuclear stockpiles, what was supposed to be the first step in the process of denuclearization. But the National Security Advisor insists.
Sorry, I just feel the need to add this in for effect. Mr. Trump, Mr. Kim Jong-un, what do you think about Stormy Daniels, sir? Okay, there you go. That's doing my Jimmy Costa.
And the administration is naive when it comes to Kim's intentions.
We are using the full range of our capabilities to understand what North Korea is doing. We've seen how the North Koreans have behaved before. The president's been very clear. He's not going to make the mistakes of prior administrations. We're going to pursue this, and we'll see what happens.
The newly revealed evidence allegedly indicates that Pyongyang is covering up the existence of at least one uranium enrichment facility, where it produces fissile material for nuclear bombs. This comes on the heels of the Trump-Kim summit, after which the president had tweeted, "There is no longer a nuclear threat from North Korea." But President Trump's holding firm.
I really believe North Korea has a tremendous future. I got along really well with Chairman Kim. We had a great chemistry.
But do we believe him, Mr. President?
I love how he says he had a great chemistry with Kim, because that just triggers people immensely. It just
shook hands with him. I really believe he means it.
Other senior Trump administration officials have showed a more cautious line in recent weeks than the president. Secretary of Defense Mike Pompeo telling the Senate Intelligence Committee this week that the threat from North Korea has been reduced rather than eliminated. John?
Okay, James, talk the people off the ledge. What do you think about all that? Fake news, or
100%
was Donald
fake
Trump
news.
being treated like an idiot once again?
100% fake news. Let me first address the chat room real quick, guys. Hey, welcome to the troll. You guys have to understand what the troll account is for. That's for people that come through the website right now. So if they join by tavshow.com, it'll say it's a troll account because they haven't established an account. So that's why you can't look at their account, because they don't have one. It's basically they're not logged in, they're not signed in. It's not a big deal. If they start acting like idiots, Kim Jong-un will nuke them. So, having said that, this is all fake. This is all a theater again. Is that Harold Finch, who many of you out there in Twitter land know, is that he is the former account of Name Redacted, and he also set up the fact that this is a fake story that was rehashed from an article written months ago in 30 North. So you can go to the Harold Finch account, you can go to my account, you can find that story. This is all rehashed nonsense and based on lies. We know this. Why? Because we know that if the Intel people were going to be leaking stories to the media, they would have leaked the fact that we were already negotiating with Kim Jong-un months before anybody found out about it. So since there was no leaks on that, what in the world makes me think that suddenly there is a leak that is occurring today that goes against the president? No, it's not happening. It's all fake news. This is how they do this stuff. Is what they do is, this is the bad thing about the way journalism has become. One person writes a story, and then everybody else re-says the same story. It doesn't matter. Because they legally back themselves up by saying, well, we didn't say it. Susie over here said it. So it's a line of it's just bad. Okay, I almost swore there, but I'm gonna try to stop swearing on my periscopes. It's just bad. Is that these guys are full of crap and deliberately trying to sabotage. Think about this. They're deliberately trying to sabotage a nuclear disarmament agreement. Just on the surface alone, if I were in the media, I wouldn't be talking about it. I would wait to see what the hell happened. Why would you want to insert yourself into a negotiation? Why would you want to insert yourself into a position where you could affect the outcome of a disagreement, or I'm sorry, of a disarmament agreement?
James, I know why you'd want to insert yourself into something like that, because you want to end up on the hammering on TAV show.
It's time. It's time for the hammering. Here we go, folks.
Stop the hammering.
Now, this is an exercise in projection you are not likely to forget anytime soon. Jim Acosta, one of my personal favorites, James, with one of my other personal favorites, Wolf Blitzer, explaining why fake news and calling the media the enemy is really, really, really dangerous stuff. Let's roll.
The president, meanwhile, he's speaking out about the newspaper shooting, calling the killing of those 5 journalists horrific and horrible. Let's go to our chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta.
What do you got first, Jim?
Jim, what else is the president saying?
Well, President Trump changed his tone on the media today, at least for the moment, saying journalists should not be subject to violent attacks after the...
Straight away off the bat, right? Like, I don't know why anybody would come at Jim Acosta and say you're being a bit of a, this is a bit of a victim complex. This is a little bit naive, because he's like, well, the president changed his tone from recent rhetoric by coming out today and saying that journalists shouldn't be slayed to death in their offices. Like, yeah, because I'm sure that's what like, I'm not laughing at the dead journalists. I'm laughing at Jim Acosta because this is so stupid. But carry on, Jim.
Mash in Annapolis. That is a major shift for the president, who has repeatedly called the press the enemy of the people, despite
yeah, he's repeatedly called the press the enemy of the people. Jim, he has not called for people to shoot journalists. That is one step too far. But of course, this is CNN. So let's roll.
Concerns from journalists that his rhetoric creates a dangerous climate.
His rhetoric.
For a president who routinely demonizes the media, it was a significant moment. One day after the mass shooting at the Capital Gazette in Annapolis.
Look how low these people go. So now wasn't the story behind this shooter, James? Didn't he have a long-running dispute with the newspaper? Tried to take them to court in about 2011, 2012, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
Absolutely.
So you put images up of the memorials, right, the flowers, and then you play clips of Donald Trump saying the press is the enemy, and guess what you're trying to do? It's an association meme, right? So Donald Trump caused this shooting without actually saying that Donald Trump caused the shooting. Right. I can't imagine why anybody doesn't trust CNN. Can you?
This attack shocked the conscience of our nation and filled our hearts with grief. Journalists, like all Americans, should be free from the fear of being violently attacked while doing their job.
But as the president left the room, he would not specify whether this is only a pause in his battle against...
Look how far back he is.
Mr. President, stop calling us the enemy of the people, sir.
No, you are the enemy of the people.
It's just incredible, isn't it? Like, this is the thing I think most people find enraging about this stuff. There's just no mea culpa. It's just constantly, always. There's never a moment where they step back and say, okay, maybe we shouldn't report it this way. Like, maybe we shouldn't try to link a shooting at a newspaper with what Donald Trump says about fake news. But that moment never comes up. That moment of clarity never arrives. And it's just breathtaking because you just keep rolling and rolling and rolling, and the ratings keep going and going and going until you find yourself a veteran journalist standing at the back of a crowded room yelling out questions to people who obviously can't hear you and wouldn't answer anyway. It's like, bravo, well done. What journalism, what expertise. That career trajectory is going like right out into the stratosphere. Well,
they take no responsibility. No responsibility. It's time for the hammering.
Stop the hammering.
You wanted it, ladies and gentlemen, and we brought it to you. What could only be described as simultaneously the best interview that CNN's ever had and the worst interview that CNN's ever had. Let's roll with Tom Arnold.
Tonight, could Michael Cohen be sending a message to President Trump? Trump's longtime personal attorney retweeted a photo with comedian Tom Arnold that he had posted of the two of them together last night. Arnold told NBC News, quote, "It's on. I hope he, Trump, sees the picture of me and Michael Cohen and it haunts his dreams." And he said, "This dude has all the tapes this dude has ever."
See, I think from the outset, can I just say this? I'm going to give Tom Arnold a little credit here. I think he was trolling the whole time and he knows it, and he can't believe that CNN is taking it seriously. And I don't think people are giving him credit for that. But let's carry on.
Everything. Tom Arnold is out front. He's working on a new show for Viceland called The Hunt for the Trump tapes.
That is true.
Thank you for being here this evening. I have a lot to get to.
Okay,
so let's jump in.
Okay, Bobby.
The Michael Cohen is facing a criminal investigation here in New York. I should point out no charges have been filed yet. But despite
this will be one of the very few hammerings we do where I don't think I even really have to say anything. Just let it happen.
He's meeting with you here in New York. He's not taking reporter questions. Did he tell you that he has something incriminating on President Trump?
Well, let me say one thing about Michael Cohen. First of all,
doesn't answer.
He's talked about how kind and appropriate the FBI was when they came to his place. You know,
I think he's method acting. I think he's somewhere. I think he's in a drug-induced haze, James, and he doesn't know whether he's method acting. I think he started it out as a prank, and it got way out of control. And then he tells himself, "This could actually be good for my career. I might get another job out of this." So he carries along with it. But then halfway through, he's pardon my French, his arsehole starts puckering like, oh no, wait, I'm in way too deep. I'm in way too deep. Like, I'm in absolute shit here. I've got to come up with something.
Donald Trump.
Stark contrast.
Yes, stark contrast. The president's trying to say the FBI are all these criminals, and it's just not true.
No. Tom, he's not trying to say. The FBI are saying that the FBI are criminals.
It was completely appropriate.
It's not try.
They knocked on his door and were so nice to him.
So to be clear,
that's line number one.
To be clear, Michael Cohen has zero problem with the FBI.
He has no problem with the FBI.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, people like myself and James Art wear the fake news. Now let's cut to Tom Arnold.
They knocked on his door and took his stuff.
So let's get to this question I just asked. Did Michael Cohen tell you?
The door and took his stuff.
How could he not have any? First of all, I know.
Hold on. Yes or no? I'm just trying to get.
Well, hold on. I'm on a trial here. Hold, slow down. Slow.
I mean, hey, I tweeted out this thing and you invited me on CNN to ask me questions and I showed up, but that doesn't mean you can ask me questions. Slow down.
Down. How can he not have stuff on incriminating Donald Trump? Michael,
see the difference? Like, if you get asked, does he have stuff on Donald Trump? And he comes back with, how can he not have stuff on Donald Trump? That works for just about anything, doesn't it? James, do you have a Ferrari? How can I not have a Ferrari? Are you married to Claudia Schiffer, Boogie? How can I not be married to Claudia Schiffer? You see how everything just works out?
Well, it worked for him. He was his Ray Donovan, except since it's Trump, it's like, you know, reality show Ray Donovan. No offense, Michael. But
no offense, Michael. We're good buddies.
He did everything for him. Donald Trump is
David says cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I love how he puts that line in. He's like, no offense, Michael. And it's like, we go way back to like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
We're old buddies.
I mean, look how he's handling the thing at the border. He's so bad at everything. He's incompetent.
And we're covering it.
He's incompetent. Yes, you're covering it.
The thing at the border.
And it's horrible. And that's why Michael Cohen is in the position he's in right now, where he's he's decided that it's about his family and it's about the country. And it's not about Donald Trump. So he's going to do everything he can do.
Did he say, I'm going to try not to talk over you, but I do want to get these answers.
I'm going to try to not talk over you, but have you ever tried talking to someone that's really high? Like, it's hard. Next thing you'll be talking about different dimensions and new understandings of reality. I'm surprised they didn't conduct this interview in the bathroom.
I got to tell you, Tom Arnold is a freaking genius. And you know, people aren't going to see that, but literally he just did the best promotion for his show on Viceland you could possibly do. He just got every member of CNN's audience to go check out what the hell craziness he's doing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was a massive troll.
Oh, man.
It's an absolute troll from start to finish. And you know what? Cohen's probably in on it too.
Did he tell you he has something incriminating on the president?
How could he not have something? How can you not have 1,000 things?
Is that a yes?
How can you not? Well, I know from my experience and the legal, them suing me.
My thinking of Tom Arnold after seeing this, like, most people were like, oh, this is an absolute disgrace. My respect for him actually went up. So that goes where he was. Where he was before. It's like he had to reach up to touch a snake's ass before. Now it's like, okay, stop.
Appropriately, I might add, I think that would be bad. I can only speak from being on the other end of it. What is it you want me to say?
I'm sorry, I want to know if Michael Cohen I have something incriminating.
Wait, what's the narrative you want me to sell? I'm sorry, I missed that.
What do you want me to say again? Oh, yeah.
The producer was talking to me, but I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Well, you have a show that is about tapes, and we know that.
Oh yeah, he's got tapes. Oh my God, he recorded everybody. I'm sure that's why.
He's got tapes.
He has my name on those tapes.
Did he play?
Oh my God, you're doing check marks.
Did he play?
Doing check marks.
This is how we roll.
Look at him looking around.
Remember the last chick they had on CNN that was like, "Why are you doing this to me?"
Yeah. I think Tom wants to be the next Robin Williams. The problem for him is he's nowhere near as charming as only Robin Williams could get away with this, but I reckon that's who he was channeling when he was doing this.
No, my friend. Did he play any of the tapes he has for you?
Oh yeah, when I was getting a selfie.
Did he play any of the tapes? Well, you just said I have a show. Let me ask you this: if you have a TV show,
look at you.
So I guess that's a no.
And you hadn't premiered. You aren't premiering until September 19th on Viceland. Would you come on
September 19th on Viceland? He nails this. You've got to give credit where it's due.
On CNN.
He just
and when you reveal everything.
CNN.
Yep. I mean, real news, right? How dare you call us fake news? He's just constructed this entire plot with one selfie, and they couldn't wait. They were rushing, James. This is the thing. Like, you know, we didn't get around to it. We were going to talk about that story about the MAGA candidate who had the car accident, right? And I was going to put it to you. Am I right to be cynical now? Like, is it correct to be cynical because the media is so bad? And then you see something like this and you're like, no, absolutely.
There's no question. Absolutely. Cynicism is the entire thing that needs to take place. Yes.
Exactly.
I would answer the question.
No, you wouldn't.
I would say yes or no, he played tapes for me, or not yet, or no.
You would?
I would answer the question honestly. Yeah.
Would you really? I will. Well, you
He's interviewing the interviewer now. Oh my God, he's lost.
See, this is the thing. CNN, ladies and gentlemen, she still thinks this is a real interview. How slow they are. This is how bad they are. Tom Arnold has filled in for James and Boogie on the TAVshow.com. Tom Arnold is doing the hammering, like right now.
Okay. Earlier today, you apologized for telling NBC News that Cohen was working with you.
NBC, those bastards.
I apologize for saying.
Right. For saying that Cohen was working with you to take down the president. Can you just set the record straight for us?
Yes. Well, I mean, he is working. I mean, he's working with America.
He's working with America. America! Fuck yeah!
He's doing the right things. I mean, he's not working against America.
So now, to answer, is he working with you? Well, he's not working against me.
No.
What?
Is he working with Robert Mueller? He's working with America.
To take down, those are my words. Oh my God.
Look, they even put it up. Comedian Tom Arnold meets with Michael Cohen. Comedian Tom Arnold meets with Michael Cohen as he hunts for unreleased Trump tapes for new TV show. Comedian goes on CNN.
If you literally just substituted the word Loch Ness Monster for the Trump tapes, everything would be the same.
Yep.
The entire season would be the same. Like
King
literally. Yeah.
Aliens. Yeah, it would be like, oh my God, look, that Russian hooker is peeing on Donald Trump. She's wearing a wristwatch like Bigfoot.
Yeah, those are my words. Those are Tom Arnold words that I said. He is not actively. He's doing everything. Michael Cohen is working legally on the right side of the law and working with America. And he's not working for Donald Trump. And he's taking care of his family.
You know, he just sold our narrative. Did you hear that? Did you hear what he just? He literally just sold our narrative on CNN.
Working with
he
America.
is trolling the crap out of these people, and they don't see it. He literally just said, "No, Michael Cohen is not working for Donald Trump. He's working for America." So what happens when he has nothing? When he comes out with nothing, this is going to blow up in the left's face. It's amazing. Like, I can't believe he just did that.
My question is, James, who the hell is the production editor? Like, who's calling these shots? Like, okay, so I'm the editor at CNN, okay? James, you come to me and you say, boss, I've got this bombshell interview, killer interview. I'm like, who is it? And you're like, Tom Arnold. I'm like, okay, who's Tom Arnold? He's a former recovering drug addict who's starting a new show. He's a comedian, and he tweeted a selfie with Michael Cohen 3 days ago. And I'm like, prime time. Put it on prime time. It's got the goods. Here's the vetting.
Donald Trump. He does not work for Donald Trump now. Donald Trump says he doesn't even know who Michael Cohen is.
Does Michael Cohen feel like the president?
He doesn't even know who Michael Cohen is.
President has his back right now?
Oh, he doesn't have his back, and he doesn't feel like he has his back. Are you kidding me? And neither does Ivanka or any of those guys. No, I mean, would you feel like that?
Does he feel
would you
like,
honestly? Would you feel like that?
Would you?
I mean, are you kidding me?
think America.
You should watch CNN. What's going on there?
Oh my God, I'm going to pass out. I'm getting so lightheaded from laughing so hard.
If that
you
doesn't
should
prove
watch
to you like
CNN.
that, exactly. He is giving him a massive bitch slap, and he's not getting credit for it. I don't think. Just a massive middle finger to CNN. It has to be. He's like, you don't understand what's going on. You should watch more CNN.
Interested in what I think about it. I'm really interested in what you think.
Nobody cares what I think.
You know what's interesting?
Nobody cares what I think. That's why I was invited on the show.
You said
why?
With Michael Cohen.
Oh yeah,
When did those meetings happen?
When exactly?
Roughly.
Well, there was the one with Don Jr. at Trump Tower, and
when was that?
Paul Manafort. No, I'm just making up crap.
Come on.
Oh my God!
He literally just said, "I'm making up crap."
Last month.
And didn't he just say then, Michael, can you call in? Like,
is this over the last 6 months?
It's the last. Again, Michael reminded me of that.
See, again, I just need to make sure that everybody understands we're playing this because it unequivocally proves how terrible CNN is. That this happened. Like, this is supposed to be serious cable news.
This happened live, and they put up a YouTube of it. They didn't even hide they're crazy.
No. Oh, look, Tom Arnold spills the beans.
And it's been we have a history. One of my best friends is Steve Tisch, the godfather to his son, who's Michael's son's age, which I just remembered is something Michael didn't want me to mention again. And,
where Michael Cohen is staying.
And where Michael got raided by the FBI. There's a lot of.
So those meetings were within how many months?
I was at the Regency when the show.
So it's all been well after the FBI raid. All 6 of these have been after the FBI.
James, are you a betting man?
Yeah.
Are you a betting man? Yeah.
Yeah, I've bet my own career a couple times.
That's true. I would wager that in that meeting with Cohen, he said to Michael Cohen, "Look, I'm going to have a little fun with this on CNN. Are you cool with that?" Do you think that happened? I reckon that would have happened.
I don't doubt it. You can look at, you want to know what the truth of that is? Like, just a tiny, tiny bit. Michael Cohen retweeted Tom Arnold. Like, think about that.
Exactly.
Not only did he deny what Tom Arnold said, but he retweeted Tom Arnold acting crazy. Like, it's literally like, this might be the best LARP setup I've ever seen. Like, because there's only 2 answers here, right? He's either completely screwing with CNN, like you said, like we suppose, or like he believes is crazy. Either way, we win. It's literally hashtag we win.
Yeah, I imagine Cohen would have been like Tom Arnold comes up to you and says, "Hey, man, do you mind if I ham this up a little bit for the TV and make a bit of a joke about your whole case?" And Michael Cohen I imagine Michael Cohen would have been thinking, "Oh, praise the Lord," because this delegitimizes, seriously, it delegitimizes the narrative against him, doesn't it? When this happens. So why would he be against that, right? It's a win-win. I promote my show. you get a little bit of positive press. Like, people think it's all a big joke and, you know, everybody's happily ever after. Let's carry on with the hammering from Tom Arnold.
In his apartment, is that right?
His apartment, his I don't know, did they go, they went into his hotel room?
And apartment.
Let's say hypothetical.
Actually, let's.
He can't help it. He's laughing.
I want to stay away from hypothetical.
I bet you do.
But I want to. In fact, Tom Arnold, what were the meetings about? Why have you been meeting with Tom Arnold?
Yeah, because Tom Arnold.
Why have you been meeting with Tom Arnold? And he was going to answer.
Good question. I hate that guy.
I'm not sure the context of the other meetings, and I swear I know exactly. But say hello to last night was about eyeball, to say I didn't know if what was going to go down. I don't know if we were going to fight because I know that, and it turned out to be a good thing. It's just a face to face and to see what side he was on. As a come to Jesus thing.
Let me ask you something. Aside I am listening. Let me ask you aside from Michael Cohen. You have admitted that your mission is to get the president out of the White House. You said it earlier today.
My jawbone is going to fall off.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just get the question out. You said it earlier today, and your new show is all about tapes that's coming out in September.
Yes, it is.
Do you have any tapes of the president that the public is not already aware of?
Yes.
That no one else has seen other than you and your team?
But it wouldn't be damaging, is what he's saying.
Has heard. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And?
He's awful.
What can you tell us about them?
Well, I think that if people had really heard and seen who he was.
You know what he has, right?
Before. Now, this is a man that's been
from The Apprentice?
Yep. He's got that's what he's got. He has production tapes. That's what he's going to do this whole winter on his 9 episodes on Viceland. He's got production tapes that he's going to try to put out against the president. That's what he just gave away.
I still don't think that'd even be that bad. Because you remember during the campaign, they were saying, we've got tapes of Donald Trump saying the N-word. And I'm like, well, you know what? In this era, they would have been out by now.
But now you have to watch the narrative build up. Now you have to watch how the CNN and MSNBC are going to try to build up Tom Arnold, both before and once he launches. But yeah, it's going to be production tapes. It's going to be like before I go live with TAV show, Boogie and I are already online. We're already talking. When you do this at a network, they're already recording immediately because they're checking sound levels. They're checking volume of, background music. They're running through like a mock show, but everything's being recorded like virtually all the time. They're called production tapes. They're things that should never be seen by the public. And often that's where you get all your hot mic moments from, right? Because Boogie and I laugh our asses off, not just on the show, guys. We laugh before the show, after the show, tomorrow. I mean, so, who knows what we're even laughing about? That's basically what they're going to pull out, is they're going to pull something out where something gets said or whatever that seems salacious. It's probably going to be edited, but it's all going to be built up, and they're starting right here with CNN. So this is another thing. Yep. And think about the timing. Equivalent. September. Think about why is September important? Why is September important? Midterm elections.
Exactly. To put it in layman's terms, James, it's the TV equivalent of being backstage at a rock concert or even a One Direction show, right? So the One Direction guys come out and do their show and they're all clean cut and they look good and, butter wouldn't melt in their mouth. You don't see them 15 minutes before they go live with an 8-ball and half a dozen hookers running around, right? Like what you and I do. Right?
Talking about who he is, pretending he was somebody else to say he was richer than he was, rating women for how they looked, walking in on this team.
See, it's going to be, what it's going to be when it comes out, James? It's going to be what everyone expected of Trump, and it's not going to be anything that hurts him. Yep. It's going to be like, oh, wait, he was bragging about money and talking about how attractive women are. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, what else is new, right? Yep. Thanks, Tom.
Universe contest, naked, bragging about it. I'm just saying this. when you're president, the Library of Congress documents everything you've done. And I think that if you see, for instance, one full day on the boardroom set of The Apprentice, one full day, and you've seen how incompetent
and
he was.
Is that what you have? Is
I like that how he says, this is unbecoming of a president, like this kind of language and stuff. Do you know what I watch, James? My wife has become quite a fan of the TV show Suits. Have you ever heard of Suits?
No.
And well, okay, Suits is a TV show about a couple of lawyers. And guess who was a co-star on this TV show called Suits? It was the lovely young newlywed princess Meghan Markle, James. So conduct unbecoming of a president when he rates women's looks. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got news for you. 2 days ago, I watched the current newlywed member of the royal family get banged up against a filing cabinet on TV. Right? Let's try to keep things in perspective.
Unaired tapes from his time on The Apprentice?
We have a lot of things.
Is that part of what you have, Tom?
We have a lot of things.
I would tell you that every tape, the P tape, I would bet that every tape is real.
I would bet.
I'm sorry,
Here we go.
Are you talking about the word he used on Access Hollywood, the Access Hollywood tape?
Well, that's
is that
real.
what you're talking about?
That pussy tape's real.
Let's not use that word.
You see what he just did? Oh, my Lord. Do you see what he just did? He's using the P tape to replace the Access Hollywood tape, but he's using that specifically because that has a secondary connotation back to the Russian dossier. Like literally, this is how you would do that. He's selling his show. That's all he's doing. He wants every single eyeball on the planet to tune into Viceland to see what he has on tape now. And it's almost, even though we hate him because of what he's trying to do, like we will still tune in. Because we want to know, like, oh my God, this is the best promotional video ever known to man. Like, this should be studied in school after this. This is the best troll ever.
It's a troll worthy of Trump. It's a troll worthy of Trump. If I was Trump, I would hire him. Like, I would hire him. You can be my media guy.
I
apologize.
Look at him.
Thank you. What are the tapes that you can tell us that you have that are unaired?
I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to watch the show.
You'll have to watch the show. I love it. He's promoting his future internet TV show on a future internet TV network.
Well, I can't even say the words because they're so disgusting. And it's the president of the United States. I can't say what Donald Trump is involved with because it's disgusting.
He wasn't always the president.
Because people are watching right now. You're talking about the president of the United States.
And by the way, there's children being torn from their parents, and they need to
there we go.
That's what's disgusting, right? Like there's no game.
Don't forget the children torn from their parents, James.
We have been covering it.
I know you have.
Constantly. And you saw my show this week.
No, I know. That's why I am going to keep on him.
But my question to you is, you're asserting that you have tapes that the public has seen.
I have a show, and you're going to see 8 episodes.
Let me just finish really quick.
8 episodes. There we go.
That you have tapes.
Not 8.
that look very bad. It seems for the president of the United States.
They'll give me walking a dog 8 episodes.
The American public has not seen, and you can't tell me you say the content of the tapes because you want people to watch your show.
Yeah, I do. That's it.
Hold on.
That's it.
That's it. No eyeballs, no paycheck.
Darling, he literally just told you why he's on your show, and you want people to watch your show, which is why you've on your show to talk about his show. He just got in there really, 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 really sneaky. I think we might end it there. We've gone double, triple overtime. James, ladies and gentlemen, how to troll the mainstream media from the most unlikely of sources. Tom Arnold, soon-to-be TV internet star on soon-to-be TV internet network. There you go. There's Yammering.
Stop the hammering.